yeah, like I said, it's not, I can't add many steps to this. You just coat the inside with beeswax. Do the same thing with your lemongrass oil on a little Ziploc bag, drop it in there, cover it, and you can hang it in a tree. But for me, I'm probably going to be 90% of these, I'm gonna just place them right on the end of someone's patio or deck or roof with the lid on. And the bees are gonna find that hole and they're gonna go in there. So that as soon as I get that call, all I have to do, I mean, it's a really fancy handle, not like mine. If I get to them really soon, like within a day, if this is upright, all I have to do is lift it up. They're gonna be perfectly, hopefully, clustered right there. Just bang them right into a hive box. If for some reason I miss it for a couple weeks, I will have to do a cutout on there. And doing a cutout on something like this is really, it takes some practice, but it's much better than doing it from, you know, on the top of a ladder at somebody else's property during a rainstorm or something. So it's good practice for later on if you want to actually do cutouts. So yeah, a little cutout you have to do in your backyard, not a big deal. Am I forgetting any questions with that? Yes?
Is the thing that's on the top, and the holes are on the bottom?
Yeah, on this one, these have just regular drainage holes. It's used for a tree, you know, baby tree. I got it from like a landscape company. I forget what it's called. Western Pulp was the company. So yeah, they do have holes in them already. The ones you would order from, say, not Brushy Mountain, but Man Lake, they have a hole in the middle. And those are great too. They're a bit more expensive. They're about $23 each. And I think these are actually a little more sturdy, and they'll last longer, and they're a little bit bigger too.
What size are these? What size are these?
The volume of that is 46 liters. The height is 17 and a half. No, the height is 15 and a half. The diameter is 17 and a half.
The bottom says 8 by 16.
Oh, great. 8 by 16. Yeah, I don't think that's right. That might be.
That's the size of 70 feet.
Yeah.
That's it. So yeah, it's a little. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Did you just make the lid for it, or
No, I didn't make that one. I found that one at Home Depot.
on the lid?
Yeah. Well, it's not made for that, but it's just pine wood. It fits perfectly in there. So that's what I'm using. You don't have to use that. You can just use a board across the top. You'd have to screw it down to hold everything together if you're going to put it in a tree. But yeah, that's what I use for that.
For the bait comb, that like heavy brood comb, or
When possible, yeah, just brown. You know, if it's jet black, like it's just getting ready to get eaten up by a wax moth or something, I find that doesn't work for me a lot. Somewhere a little bit younger than that is good. Old equipment obviously is going to work better. It'll be propolized and have a lot of bee smells in it. But if you have new equipment, you can just also coat the inside with beeswax to get it, or propolis to get it really bee smelly. Use a lemongrass oil top and bottom, and you're on your way. Catch some swarms. Oh, sorry about that. Here's kind of just a little video of a bait hive in action. I was doing my rounds trying to see if I was catching anything, and this hive had 2 or 3 little bees flying around it. And I was getting ready to walk away when I heard a really loud buzz coming out from about 200 yards away. And I said, oh, let me just hang out here for a minute. And this is the first time I ever have seen bees move into a swarm trap. So I got my little phone out and started making this video. And it's about 5 minutes. So
Do you want me to shortcut a little bit?
no, that's cool. You can kind of watch it. As I said a little earlier, with Langstroth equipment, I could take this right from where it is, the way it is. It's already strapped, and just take it home and sit it right on my stand. I don't have to really mess with it. No cutout. I'd like to see how they're doing, but they're kind of far away from home.
Is there
Oh,
sound to this video?
Oh, sorry, yeah, here, you wanna put the volume on, you can. Yeah. I hope I'm
Here it
not
gets
talking through
intensified.
this one too much, but I think I'm talking a little bit.
How long was that bait hive there?
It was there for about 6 days. This was the 6th day that I came back and saw them doing that.
Yeah, that's it.
See the one fan?
Yeah.
Computer's not plugged
Over
in.
here, boy. I'd like to see what the queen
Oh,
is.
sorry, we're not getting sound here. Very buzzy. At some point, I stick my face in the way.
Yeah, that's it.
Hanging on to his legs.
I can do this in my new house, can't I?
Catch your neighbor's swarms over at the greenhouse.
Yeah, I got like 3 of them.
What's that?
Ours are that bad? I don't remember them being that bad. Can you see the queen? Can you see the queen at the city? Like, do you ever see her? She's coming in.
If you look really close, you'll see she's kind of big and she swoops around.
We never had to do that.
No, but if you shave them off her crotch and throw it in her eye, she's in there and they'll turn around and fan out, telling the others to go in.
flying around right in the front.
They do that. They do that out in front of
I
the
remember I saw her, but
Remember they do that out in front of the house.
I do kind of like this.
You can watch them march. They like marching in her. Yeah, they do. They march. They have that marching. So you can see. You can.
Your neighbor's getting upset if they're doing honeybees. If you allow your hives to swarm in a cluster, this freaks the living big Jesus out of the neighborhood. This will get you enemies faster than anything else, won't be able to crash the neighborhood as well. But if you let this happen, you're triggering a situation where you're gonna have hypertension on you. You're gonna manage your colony to prevent this from happening. This really sets off a lot of alarm. Because if people will be stung to death when this thing starts.
I still, okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
How do you select a location? I mean, that's a tricky question, but in general,
It
in a
is.
wooded area and, anywhere.
Sometimes I'll think a certain spot is so great. Oh, well, you do want to be near water is always good. Near a wooded area that has an opening is also good, but you'll read that a lot. But sometimes I'll find the most perfect place ever with honeybees everywhere, 5 beekeepers all up and down the road, and I'll have my trap right at 8 feet high, and I won't catch anything. But then,
Selfie.
I'll put one in my dad's yard in the city, and the city of Reading, and then I never see bees anywhere, and catch a swarm right there under his grill. So you just never know with bees, and that's what's really cool when they're. You just never know. But yeah, so aim for something near water, where you see bees or beekeepers, because people are gonna they're not, maybe they don't do it on purpose, but they're still gonna swarm. Sometimes. Luckily in my area, I caught all my swarms last year. They all landed right on low branches. I got them all, but my neighbors were pretty far.
You ever find any that marked queens?
Yeah. Maybe 3 times I've gotten queens that are marked. Last year, I did a cutout that had a marked queen, red marked queen, so she was from last year. Only one last year. And then the year before, I think 1 or 2. for me, what was it that I'm sorry. For me, I put them out April 1st, which is kind of early. The earliest swarm I've ever caught was April 6th, and that was 4 years ago. Last year was really late. I think the first one I got was May 15th or something, but it still caught more than the year before. So I get them out April 1st just to be safe. And then the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just go to the next slide.
It's not moving. The next one is just an example. This one's much shorter. It's only a minute. This isn't my video, but this is bees moving into a flower pot trap. And this is that neighborhood. Yeah, he probably ticked a couple people off. But if you look really close, you'll see the big cloud of bees way up in the air right there, coming down. So that's pretty cool.
As they call the cops.
So the guy who's talking in this video is kind of just saying, wow, this really works. I put that up there and I was doing some work, I guess, on his garden or something, and he heard him coming in. I don't know if he already had bees or if it's his first year, but.
They're big, expensive
Yeah. I don't know, that's pretty cool.
So in that flow pot, there's nothing in there, right? It's completely empty except for a little coating.
Right, a coating with wax and a swarm lure, which you
They
can
have to
use.
still move in as it, let's start all over.
Yeah, bees, they don't need frames in there and inner covers and screen bottom boards, they'll go into anything they like.
You can put in the attractant.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, that when you put it in the bait hive, I forget what they call it. It's like clean pheromone. Yeah, that's when you put that in there, and then the bees smell that, and they say this is where we want to live.
Yeah, that's the idea. There's a couple different pheromones. The negative, which I already said, was that you might have to do a bit of a cutout, but it's a cutout on that, if you remember my previous picture, it's just a simple cut. They're perfectly straight, that time perfectly straight cones, cut out, put them in frames. And they cost about $16 for the way that I showed you there.
What's on the outside of that? It looks like there's like a,
This whole rough surface there,
yeah.
it's just made out of this weird fiber that's kind of like paper mache feeling. It's all made out, it's just very rough. Okay, I just realized I got a bit to go here. Okay, swarm chasing, oh my God. The second way of attaining swarms is swarm chasing, what I call swarm chasing. And the most important thing that I did, which took my swarm capturing from 1 or 2 a year to 40 a year, was creating a really simple website with your number and everything on it, and a Facebook page, both things, because Facebook page is free. If you get on there and you talk a lot about bees, you'll be searchable for someone in your area that's looking for, they just found a swarm. What's the first thing they do? They just want to see swarm removal in their city. And if you have that on your website, they're going to find you, depending on how searchable your website is. My website is just a simple WordPress site where I just blog about just really my thoughts about bees, about gardening, and it's called ilovebees.buzz. And anytime you can get your stuff up in front of 1 million people, get it up there. There's my little Facebook page, that's free. I get 1 million calls to that every year. Let me go back here. Business cards are really important too. I just got my shipment of 500 of them for $9.99, and I stick them up at gas stations to bee rescue. Stick them up at gas stations, hand them to everybody, drop them everywhere, and you'd be surprised how many calls you get from that. Bumper stickers, they're a little bit expensive, but I've had people call me as I'm driving down the road, and I'm like, who is this? And they're saying, I'm behind you, and I saw your bumper sticker about you rescue bees. Oh, that's my little door panel. And he's like, oh, I think that's really cool, and plus my grandfather has some bees in his barn, and it just goes from there, and you make contacts that way. That's very important. And also establish relationships with pest control companies, tree removal services, realtors, all that stuff. I get calls from, not police so much. I try to limit my communication with police or pest control companies too much, but yeah, a lot of tree removal services. Even beekeepers like you guys. Some people will have two colonies and they don't want 3. So I've had people call me where I go to their bee yard and take away their bees from them. That's weird. But always be ready to go with swarm calls. You really have to have these things. You want to have multiple boxes. Sometimes you'll get to a location, there's actually 2 swarms right next to each other. And if you show up there with 1 box, you're screwed. Plus, if you're at work and you get called and your swarm calls the other direction, you don't want to have to run home to get everything and then go back. Just always keep as much as you can of this stuff in your car. Multiple boxes, ratchet straps you need all the time, smoker. You don't generally need a smoker for a swarm removal, but it's good to get them off of something if they keep re-alighting on that. Your bee suit, of course, lemongrass oil to get them to go into your box. Sometimes you put a drop right on the entrance that'll get them running right in if you shake them on the ground like I do a lot of times. Queen cages. Last year I had a swarm that had 8 queens in it. I only had 6 queen cages in it. Every time I was like, oh, there she is, and then I was like, oh, there she is again. I could not believe I had 8 queens in there. It caused a whole lot of problems later. But caution tape. You would be surprised how many times you're right there in the middle of a whole bunch of bees with your suit on, and somebody will walk up right behind you or near you in a tank top and shorts. Oh, what are you doing? You're like, dude, get out. So have that, hope that they help edit. Pruners and pole saw, I don't know how many times I was caught without those when, a nice swarm is just out of reach. It makes your job a lot easier if you just want to snip them down and just shake them into your box. Step ladder rope.
You'd also be surprised about how willing some people are to, like, you're taking the bees? I don't care if you cut half the tree down, just take them.
Yeah, take the barrel, take whatever they're in. I got a lot of cool stuff that had bees in it. And I always like to give whoever calls me a jar of honey. Make sure you give it to the right person, because if you hand it to the wrong person, that happened one time. I was like, oh, thanks, and walked away, and then the other guy, oh, you're the one I called. And before you go out to a call, these are very important too. You want an exact location. I don't know how many times I got to a property and realized it was just way bigger than I thought it was, and there's no one there. Who's in charge? You don't want someone to call for their neighbor and then you get there and they won't let you on there to get it. You want to know how high it is so you can decide if you even want to go for it. I don't even try to go after something that's more than 20 feet up unless it's really close by. I'll put a swarm trap there and help the thing move in, which also works. You want to know how big it is? Sometimes I had one last year that was almost the size of my whole body, and I had to put it in like 3 10-frame deeps just to get them home. That's very rare, but it gives you an idea what you're expecting, and a picture is very important, especially towards the end of the year. That's when there's people that have all these bees, and you get there and it's yellow jackets going in and out of their wall. It's not a swarm. And also you want to know if they've called anyone else, because that's really annoying if they call 3 or 4 people and you all show up and look at each other and want to fight over it. And very important, me and Mitch and I had a situation where we drove an hour to go to a swarm. We trusted the guy. He's like, yeah, they're right here. And then we said, where's the swarm at? And he walked us over and pointed to the ground and said, there they are. Can you save them? And there was just a big wet pile of dead bees. And you really got to know that, because that's very annoying.
They're working on Jersey.
Here's a typical just shaken swarm on the ground. Just kind of shows them marching right in. This was on a little tiny azalea bush where I just gave them a little shake. They fell on the ground and just ran right in. Wow. This stuff is really easy. It's not hard.
So all you want to do outside ones, nothing inside walls, and all that fun stuff?
Oh yeah, I'm not talking about cutouts at all. No, that's I'm not even equipped to talk about cutouts because I still fumble through them.
On YouTube, I think his website is 162 Rooster.
Yeah, 620 Dirt Rooster is one of my
Yeah, he's
favorite
awesome.
channels.
He does it for a living.
Yeah, he's great. I'm a big fan of both of them.
Yeah.
He's got his Dirt Rooster.
Where's the ad then?
Let me see. Yeah, so Oh, and also this swarm location, as they were going into the box, I just meandered around for a minute and looked about 15 feet up. There's a hole in an oak tree, and that's where these bees, I mean, I'm assuming that's where they came from. They were so close that that's how I found one of the colonies that I monitor every year. Last year, the bees that were in there died. They didn't make it through winter, but by May, it was full of bees again, so maybe they'll be there again. Here, can you switch to that? Yes. See, I think I only have one more slide. Okay, how to get them back home. If anyone has questions on this later, you can contact me. I'll do my best to you can find my number or call me up, email me. I can elaborate more. This is my first ever, presentation, so I didn't know how much time this was going to take. To get them home, I always wait till after dark, if I can on the first day. The longer you would let, this is for chasing a swarm. After you shake them into a box and they go in, sometimes they don't. I like to wait a day or two if possible, but come back at night when all the bees are clustered inside. Ideally, on whatever you shake them into, you only want to have one way in or out. So you can close that up. Approach with a red light. I made the mistake of using my phone and going up and shining it right on a bunch of bees in pitch blackness, and they came right at me and got me. Sometimes to get them to go in, you'll mist them with a little bit of just water on the outside. That works most of the time. If that doesn't work, a little bit of smoke will usually get them moving. I'll usually screen my entrance closed with thumbtacks, and then ratchet strapping it very tightly is very important. And you want to drive with your windows open to keep the air moving in there so that they don't overheat, and also to let any stray bees out. But no matter what you do, they're still going to get out. I don't know if I've ever driven one time without bees flying around in the car, no matter what I did. So sometimes I just leave my suit on, zipped up, and that's how I drive home. That's just what I do. So when I get out, I don't look back. So, yeah, that's pretty much my presentation for swarm trapping and chasing. I hope you guys pick something up off of that. I like to give away my swarm trap here, my most fancy one. I don't mind. So if I could just have a random name off the sign-in sheet of you. Was that?
I did for the next, I didn't know.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
No, we
Is there what's the best?